Now, they think that sports is better reality TV. I was like, it's the same thing.
Pretty much.
Right. You know, if I listen to ESPN for an hour, it's like watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you know, it's the same drama, and they're yelling at each other, and they don't get along. You know, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he's just like every other talk show host.
Real Housewife.
He would be.
Right.
It
would be amazing.
So that's why I'm like, what's the difference? It's just, you know, it's just sociological drama.
Michelle Obama on her podcast IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson name dropped ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, and he was pissed.
You know, it's the former First Lady in the United States of America. Somebody that I personally revere and believe to be the greatest First Lady in American history. That's my personal opinion, and I stand by it. Smart, very attractive, highly intelligent, very accomplished, wonderful values and morals. As far as I'm concerned, she's the closest thing to perfection I've ever seen from a First Lady in the White House. That's just how I feel about it. No disrespect to the great Nancy Reagan.
Wait. Stop here. Nancy Reagan? In the same conversation as Michelle Obama? You're putting Nancy Reagan? I mean, you want to talk about harm. Like, I know this dude is the king of filibustering to fill time. Okay? But why group these two together? Like, I'm genuinely curious. And you know what this is at the end of the day? It's a tell. This is the same guy who has talked about supporting Republican candidates for president. He has gloated of some Republicans. So, man, what a tell. Onward.
So, first thing I want to say is, thank you for watching. I really appreciate that you watched First Take. You tried to deny it, but you know you wouldn't know I'm so loud if you wasn't watching, because you ain't making that judgment just watching me once. You know you watch First Take. You know it. You know you know it. You know your husband watches it too. I appreciate the fact that I'm known in the Obama household. I'm touched by that. I actually am touched. Okay, so let me get that out the way first.
Pause once more. It's funny though that Stephen A. Smith is so full of himself, and we know this already, right? But he is so full of himself that he believes they watch his show, then not realizing in turn that us as a sports consuming society have to be spoon-fed him at every single turn. They put him on almost any coverage of any sport at this point. And we don't have a say. And this is part of the downfall of ESPN, very quickly, is that they're making Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee the true faces of the network. When you're already seeing the backlash to ESPN not getting the rights in a trade with the NFL Network of Red Zone, but that people don't want to see Pat McAfee because it is for football purists. But to go back to my original point, the downfall of ESPN has a lot to do with obviously a media landscape changing, but also that we can't get away from these people. There used to be great parity in who the hosts were and the camaraderie that they had with one another, and not this like faking it till you make it approach for some folks. Now what we have is just a select few being shoved in front of our faces at all times, and it is really hurting the product. But on that point about Stephen A. running the network, it's kind of true. I mean, if you think about it, he kind of does run the network where he is able to make decisions, demote people, and eventually see them go bye-bye from their airwaves. Second, people don't sit down and watch television at the rate we used to as a society. It's just a fact. Who's to say Michelle Obama didn't pull a Bill Burr here and see clips on social media? I mean, we all do at this point. The over-the-top flattering of oneself is a bit much. nonetheless.
I would like to see you, Madam First Lady, Mrs. Michelle Obama, I would like to see you have some people on your podcast with dissenting opinions, dare I say. That would be nice. So they could have an opportunity to clap back if you say something. It just would be nice, you know. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think this is personally the beauty in Stephen A. That he sees someone make one comment, right, immediately, and without hesitation, essentially calls them soft. Because, look, podcasts are podcasts. Friends are going to do them with friends. Associates going to do them with associates. Friends of friends. And a lot of them are not there to be contentious. It's about either analyzing something or giving a rundown of the news, or for the most part, pure opinions based, which has hurt this entire industry, to be very clear. We don't go off of facts, we go off of vibes. You know what I'm saying? But I do find it rather interesting that Stephen A. will say that he built up his career as a writer, and he certainly did. And he worked his way up, certainly did. The reason we know about Stephen A. Smith is because of debate culture, which ran its course and is now decreasing in size as it pertains to mainstream press, except for Abby Phillips' show, of course. But we're seeing this decrease because there are more options, and I don't think a lot of people just love debate culture overall. But it is pretty interesting how he immediately asserts himself into the situation by saying, only my point of view can make this better. It's laughable because not everything has to be a debate. Not all people want to debate. Not everything is up for debate. But to Stephen A. Smith, because this is how he made himself a star, it's really no surprise that he would go in this direction.
I mean, the fact that people over seasons of working together still can't get along.
Right.
They still have the same arguments, you know, and it's not just women, but this happens in sports too.
Right.
I find it fascinating.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, why do you keep going to dinner together?
Smith would then mention this. At a rally in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Michelle Obama would say, a vote for Donald Trump is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth. So fellas, before you cast your votes, ask yourselves, what side of history do you want to be on? We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment, and we are more than just baby-making vessels.
I'm still a bit salty at you. I want to state for the record, I took major offense to that. I didn't appreciate it. Because there's so many things that go into deciding where your vote is going to go. There are issues that matter to every American citizen. And to sort of blackmail us emotionally into trying to compel us to vote one way or another is part of what won Trump the election. Because that side of the aisle was able to look at the left and say, look at what they'll do to win. And y'all talking about him like he's worse. And in a lot of y'all eyes, he is worse. But that didn't make y'all clean. It really, really didn't.
Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYT Sports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.